Hello everybody, this is Tip Top Gaming here today with another Magic the Marveling, Magic the Gathering video. For those of you who don't know what Magic the Marveling is, I'm going to break it down really quickly. Magic the Marveling is this big project where I'm breaking down every single Marvel movie into a Magic the Gathering set, where I take important characters, plot events, and items and turn them into Magic the Gathering cards. Today I am covering one of the biggest movies in the MCU, the Avengers. This movie was very influential, and as such, I had to be very careful with these cards. I think I found a very good balance, so why don't we jump right into this? Now, there are a lot of cards, so I'm not going to be able to cover all of them. But why don't we start with the main Avengers? Starting with Thor, we have Thor Avenger. He's a 6-cost, red and white, legendary creature as Guardian God Hero Avenger, with flying, haste, and worthy. He's also a 6/6. He also says at the beginning of each player's end step, they may pay 3. If they don't, Thor Avenger fights up to 2 target creatures they control. So heroes in this set are red, white, and blue. And so Thor fits perfectly within those colors. Worthy is a mechanic seen only on Mjolnir, and it allows Mjolnir to be attached to Thor. And his whole fighting everything is kind of a reference to him just being this like god and just taking out tons of enemies really, really quickly. However, I couldn't just have him be like, fight here, fight here, fight here. So I thought a way for an opponent to, stop it made a lot of sense. In terms of creature types, all Avengers that appear in Avengers movies will have the Avenger creature type. Now, if, say, Thor appears in Thor the Dark World, which, hey, he does, he will not have the Avenger type there because there are some cards that reference the Avengers type, and by having too many cards with that, it could make it too powerful. Alrighty, on to the next one. Next, we have Black Widow Avenger. It's a 6-cost, 4/4 legendary creature human hero Avenger with flash. And she says, whenever Black Widow Avenger enters the battlefield, exile all spells and counter all other abilities. You may cast those cards as long as you control Black Widow Avenger and spend mana as low as mana of any color. So the idea here is your opponent is going off, and you can just pay 6, and it'll counter everything on the stack, and if they were dumb enough to play multiple spells on the stack at the same time, or they need to for their combo to work, you can then gain a bunch of those spells and cast them back at your opponent. So this is supposed to be a reference to Black Widow being a spy and like gathering intel on your opponent and then using that intel against them. So they're using the cards against you. Next, we have Bruce Banner. This is the only card that isn't Avenger. It's a 5-cost legendary creature human hero Avenger, and it says Bruce Banner cannot attack. It also says, if Bruce Banner would die, instead exile Bruce Banner and return him transformed to the battlefield as the Hulk. The Hulk is a 12/12 legendary creature beast hero Avenger with trample that says you can't cast non-creature spells. So this is meant to kind of be like it's filling you with anger. You're not thinking, you're not doing smart decisions, you're just playing creatures and hitting things and smashing things. Then you can pay 5 to exile the Hulk and return to the battlefield transformed as Bruce Banner. Any player may activate this ability. So the idea here is that any player can turn him back into Bruce Banner, or you can turn him back into Bruce Banner if you want to cast non-creature spells. I think the design for this card worked out really, really well, and I'm really excited to see how this works in playtesting. Captain America Avenger is a 3-cost legendary creature human hero Avenger with vigilance and a 2/5. He's also a 2/5. Whenever a human or Avenger enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Whenever you draw a card, not during your upkeep, target creature you control gains +0/+1 and has vigilance and hexproof. So the idea here is Captain America kinda is this leader. I mean, Iron Man is also the leader, and they kind of fight about it, and that's kind of a big part of the story. However, he is a very good leader ability. You can play him first, and then every single Avenger that joins him allows you to not only draw a card, but when you draw the card from playing the hero or Avenger, you then can give something +1 defense, vigilance, and hexproof. That basically turns any card that says draw a card into give target creature hexproof, which can be super powerful. So this could be a really fun commander too. Next, we have Hawkeye Avenger. Hawkeye is a 1 white legendary creature human hero Avenger. Now, this guy is crazy. He's kind of like Rotting Register, where he's super powerful, but he has a downside, and it's a very big downside. He has reach, and he says whenever a creature you control dies, you may add one of the hero colors, so white, red, or blue. And you can he's also an 8/4. So he's really crazy. He can take down Thor. Because he has reach, he can take him down. However, he has this ability. Pay 3, gain control of Hawkeye Avenger. This ability costs 2 more to activate for each Avenger you control. Any player may activate this ability. So the idea here is that in the story, Hawkeye obviously gets mind controlled by Loki. And so that's the idea here. Now, I wanted to make it easy to mind control him early on in the game, because if I made it cost 6 to mind control him, well, Hawkeye would come out turn 3 and have a couple turns to swing. However, since it costs 3 and gets more expensive later on in the game, the ability scales throughout the game, and it encourages you to play other Avengers. At first I thought, well, this is really powerful, but then in playtesting I was like, this is one of the weaker Avengers, because, well, I can play him, but he has summoning sickness, so he only has that when creatures die ability, really, and when my opponent untaps, he's gonna pay 3 to steal it. So this makes it very difficult. However, if you drop him in and you already have like 2 or 3 Avengers, that means he's probably at a more appropriate time in the game to come down, and he's harder to take control of. So it's a very interesting dynamic. Next, we have Iron Man Avenger. He's a 6-cost 4/4 legendary creature human hero Avenger. He is flying and protection from blue and black. So blue and black is the color of the Chitauri inside of the Avengers block of the set. And he says, whenever you sacrifice Iron Man Avenger, flip a coin. If you win, return Iron Man Avenger to your hand. Then you can pay 2, tap, and sacrifice Iron Man Avenger to destroy target creature and all creature types that share a creature type with it. So the idea here is that he takes the nuke, he sacrifices himself to kill all the Chitauri with the nuke. However, he doesn't actually die, so there's a chance he comes back. Now that's kind of the logic behind whenever you sacrifice Iron Man, flip a coin. So I think that this is a very powerful card for the fact that you could pay 2 and tap him to sacrifice him, and then he could come back. So you can keep killing things with him. And I know destroy target creature, it really doesn't fit blue or black, but there's not really... I really wanted this to be flavorful, and obviously this isn't a real MTG set, so I don't have to be super duper careful about colors, although I try to be realistic. However, this card I felt like was worth breaking the rules for. Alrighty, so that's it in terms of the main Avengers cast. But what about the person who brought them all together? Nick Fury Assembler is a 4-cost legendary creature human soldier. He's a 4/4 with haste and first strike, which is very powerful. He's a 4/4 for 4 with haste and first strike. Hero creature you control costs 1 less to cast, and you can tap and sacrifice another creature to put an Avenger creature from your hand onto the battlefield. Return that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So basically he makes it easier to cast heroes, because he brings together heroes and then makes them Avengers. Now, originally an original version of this made heroes Avengers, but that got scrapped for power level reasons. However, if you tap and sacrifice another creature, which in this case would be Phil Coulson in like logic or like in the lore, you can put an Avenger on the battlefield, and then eventually at the end of the movie they all disperse, and so you return it back to your hand. That's also to balance it, and Red is often seeing these kind of effects. Now, speaking of Phil Coulson Needed Loss is a 2-cost legendary creature human. He is a 2/2, and you can tap to sacrifice him, and until end of turn, the next hero or Avenger card you cast costs 2 less to cast. So the idea here is him dying is the reason that the Avengers come together. So you can sacrifice him in order to let the Avengers come together. So you're basically paying 2 mana up front to get 2 mana off a spell later, allowing you to cast bigger spells one time. Alrighty, so there are a bunch of important characters within the story. One of those characters is the main villain, Loki. We have Loki, Bane of New York, who's a 6-cost 5/6 legendary creature as guardian god villain. When Loki, Bane of New York deals combat damage to a creature, you gain control of that creature until that creature takes damage. So the logic here is that, hey, he's mind controlling people, but when he mind controls Hawkeye, the way Hawkeye gets out of it is by hitting his head really hard. So when that creature takes damage, it makes sense that they lose, you lose control of it. It also makes it a little more balanced. And then also at the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you win, create a 3/3 black Chitauri creature soldier creature token. A black Chitauri soldier creature token. So this is supposed to represent how he has like this unlimited army that just keeps coming. So I think it's time that we break down the creatures in terms of Chitauri in the set, because, I normally just cover the heroes. However, this set has a little bit bigger, synergy. It has a lot of synergy in it, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that synergy with the Chitauri. So the Chitauri, we have Chitauri Warrior, which is a 3-cost 2/2 with Death Touch creature Chitauri. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, create a copy of Chitauri Warrior. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 2. If you do not, exile that creature. So basically, it every turn creates a copy of itself, which you can use to sacrifice the thing. So that's very, very powerful, and probably could use a little bit of a nerf. But Then, if you pay 2, you get to keep the copy. So this is supposed to represent the army always getting bigger and bigger, and technically, the copies can create copies, so this grows exponentially. Then we have Chitauri Leviathan, which is the same thing at a higher mana cost with flying, and with the Leviathan subtype, and it also costs 4 to keep the copy. So that's kind of how that works. Now there are other cards that care about the number of Chitauri you control, and since the Chitauri duplicate, that is very powerful. There's a cycle of 5 cost sorceries that do some sort of like affect all creatures, and they're all modal, so they have 2 choices. So one example, this is Growing Teamwork. It's a 5 cost green and blue sorcery, and it says put a +1/+1 counter on each non-Chitauri creature. So that includes your opponent. So this is really good if you're fighting against the Chitauri, because you can buff all your creatures, or until end of turn, whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. So this obviously cares about counters a lot. Now, green actually isn't in either the hero colors or the villain colors, so it sees the least representation inside this set. However, I still have to design cards for it, so like counters doesn't really fit into any of those, but it might fit into future cards within the set. So then we also have cards like Damaging Fight, Damage Control, Chitauri Invasion, Cheat Death, Battle of New York. So all of those are very interesting cards. Now I broke down all the Avengers, and there's a card that helps you get out all these Avengers at once. Assemble is a red, white, and blue sorcery, and it says search your library for any number of Avenger cards and put them into your hand. You lose life equal to 3 times the amount of cards put into your hand. So basically you're paying 3 life for every card you put in your hand. Now theoretically that means you could cast this on turn 3 and get all the Avengers out, I believe for 18 life. But of course that only goes into your hands, so then you have to cast them for mana. So this card was very hard to balance because I had to find an appropriate mana cost that didn't make it worthless, but I also had to make sure you didn't lose too much life. Alright, there are also a bunch of other characters that are a lot smaller within the story, but still are there. Eric Selvage, Energy Expert, is a 2-cost legendary creature human 2/2. Artifacts, instants, and sorceries you cast cost 2 less to cast. However, you can pay 4 to gain control of him, and any player can do this. So pretty much anything within the story that was gained control of kind of has this any player like fighting over it. Now this doesn't become harder to take control of. So later on in the game, you might end up just fighting back and forth over this one creature until someone can either sacrifice it, kill it, make it cost more, make it useless, The other is a blue and black legendary creature, Chitauri. I don't actually know what its creature type is, but because Chitauri needed more creatures, I made it Chitauri, and it's a 3/3, and it says whenever the other enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a Chitauri card or a card named Loki, Bane of New York. So you can search for Loki because the other is the one who brings Loki to Earth, and you can search for Chitauri because if you already have Loki, you might not want that. And then it also says villains and Chitauri have Menace and Death Touch, so this allows all of your Chitauri to be harder to dodge, like you have to block with 2 creatures and they have Death Touch, so you can kill both those creatures assuming they have 2 power. So this is a very, very powerful card, might go up to 2 blue and 2 black to make it harder to cast. Next, we have a cycle of 3 cards in the hero colors. We have Jasper Sitwell, which is a legendary creature human, 5 cost 4/4 with first strike, and it says each creature you control has pay 2, tap, deal damage to target player equal to that creature's power. Maria Hill is a 5 cost legendary creature human, blue, 3/5, and it says each creature you control gains pay 2 blue, sacrifice this creature, tap, counter target spell with converted mana cost less than or equal to this creature's converted mana cost. And Pepper Potts is a 4 cost 2/2 lifelink. Each creature you control has pay 1 white, tap, target player gains life equal to this creature's toughness. So Jasper deals damage equal to power, Pepper heals, and Maria Hill counter spells. So these are kind of a cycle of double mana symbol cards that are in the hero colors that give all your creatures an ability, which can be very powerful because it's a big mana sink that allows you to either gain life, deal damage, or counter spells. So it's very interesting. And Georgi Lukoff is a small character within the Avengers, like very small. However, Black within the set likes to kidnap things, and he gets some kidnapping, so I was able to fit him into those colors. And so it says whenever you gain control of a permanent you don't own, all creatures you control get +2/+0 and have first strike, and you can pay 4 to gain control of target creature you don't control until end of turn. It gains haste. So that's it for like most of the creatures within the set. I will leave a link in the description to a full card list. Now I'm going to go over a couple more cards with some awesome synergy, such as Get Angry and Hulk Smash. Get Angry costs 2, it's an instant, it says target creature gets +3/-1 and trample until end of turn. So if you cast this on Bruce Banner, who cannot attack, because I don't think I really went into this too much, but the beauty behind Bruce Banner is that whenever he takes damage, he's transformed into the Hulk, but he can't attack. So your opponent either has to attack you, or you have to find another way of killing him. And Get Angry allows you to do that if your opponent decides they don't want to attack you. In addition, Hulk Smash, or not Hulk Smash, in addition, Always Angry is an enchantment that gives all your creatures -1 toughness and gives them trample. This makes it so Bruce Banner can be transformed into Hulk automatically and cannot be transformed back, because as soon as he becomes transformed back, he dies and then is transformed back into the Hulk. So that card allows you to basically turn Bruce Banner into the Hulk permanently, because he's always angry. So that's kind of what that's for. In addition, there's some lands and the Helicarrier in here. There's some just basic lands that allow for some color fixing if you want to draft the set. And in addition, there is the Joint Dark Energy Mission Facility, which enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap for 1 mana of any color for each creature you control. However, you can pay for it to gain control of this land. So it's another one of those things where, you know, Loki kind of takes control of this facility, so it makes sense that you can too. There are tons of cool things. I missed a Mythic, Tesseract Portal Bringer, which you can pay either 9, or if you have no non-land permanents, you can pay 6. And if you try to cheat it out by having it enter the battlefield without casting it, you have to sacrifice it. But you can pay 3 to put a permanent card from your hand on the battlefield, which is basically just like Loki portaling in. Again, there are a ton of cool stuff, so I recommend you check out the link in the description to see all of the cards. That's going to do it for today's video. This has been a long one, but there's been a ton of fun and cool cards, and I want to give you a bunch of information, but also go over as many cards as possible. If you guys want me to either slow down and talk more about cards, or speed up and talk about more cards, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any criticisms, notices on how I should reword cards, or ideas for future cards, please let me know in the comments down below. See you guys in the next video. Bye.